There's still some fool out there that's trying to run a horror game using Dungeons and Dragons.
This is what I would probably call a limiting narrative view, or putting yourself into a box, which a lot of people unfortunately do based on the system that they're playing. There are a great many TTRPGs out there, and many of them are fantastic for telling the story that they are intended to tell. You have, like, Goblin Quest. It's a fantastic story if you want to tell a slapstick goblin story, but you could also tell this story in Pathfinder, D&D, and a number of other systems. But when you're looking at a very broad-based genre, like horror, for example, or if you want to look at action or comedy, you could tell one of these incredibly broad-based genres in any system that you're playing. Actually, in most games that you play. Because the thing that horror really relies on are three parts. One, your narrative skills. Two, the story that you're trying to tell. And three, the player participation. If you have incredible skills of narration, if you write up the best story, but your players aren't interested in playing a horror story, it won't be a horror story because they have to interact with it as such. But if you have all those three on board, it's not that hard. Let's even look at Chutes and Ladders. This is a game that's just designed for kids going up ladders and falling down chutes and trying to make it to the finish line. Not a horror game. But you could make this a horror game by talking about how these children are trapped in this liminal space, how these children want to get home desperately to their families, but they're stuck in the circular existence of this universe. Every single time they go up the ladder and they make it to the finish line, they're at another level that just leads them to another space of ladders and more chutes to fall down. Just this never-ending game. They want to get home to their friends, their families, watch their favorite TV shows, but they're stuck in this nightmare realm that is nothing but going up ladders and falling down chutes, stuck in this forever hunger but not being allowed to just have a dirt nap. That is not a horror game. But see, you added narrative to it, you added story to it, and then if the players interact with it, you just made Chutes and Ladders a horror game. You can do this very, very easily with D&D. If you have a hard time sort of picturing how D&D could be horror, go check out our show, Ballad of the Seven Dice, our first campaign, fully completed, and we told a horror action story. It more leans towards horror than action, but nonetheless, you can tell any of these kind of stories with most systems that you're playing. If it's a very broad genre, you could literally use any kind of system you feel like. Don't limit yourself, have fun, and work on your narrative skills and story playing, and remember, always involve your players in the process, because it's a lot more fun that way, and you'll be able to tell the story that you're looking to tell.